Guys, I'm finally bringing you some freaking good news. It's finally happening. I've been waiting to see this buff for a very long time. And you might be wondering, Skratch, what are you talking about? What have you been waiting to see for such a long time? And that is basically the buff on the cock, guys. The buff on the freaking chicken. I have 3 of these bad boys. Seems like one is actually hiding in the other vault. I've pulled him more than any other mythical in the game. And I can finally say that, yes, he is getting a buff, okay? Plus, I really thought that I'm going to have a chilled weekend where I'm not going to have to try and summon for any champions. Only one is the actual fusion event, right? I think we have a champion chase this weekend. But guess what? Plarium decided to change my plans, to bait me into it. And yes, they have got me. So I'm really not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not super loaded on shards or anything like that. So I definitely want to make sure I'm getting the fragments for the fusion. But at the same time, I'm like, hell, I really need to try and get this champion because it's my most wanted faction unity champion. I think my most wanted, yeah. This and that. But let's talk about the summoning events first. Then we're going to talk about the champion buffs. I'm super pumped that is finally freaking happening. And one of my most hated legendary champion is getting a buff as well. Not just the mythical buff. But we're going to get to the buffs in a second. Let's quickly go over the summoning events. This Thursday, May 8th, they are planning to launch a progressive chance event, giving you the chance of your dreams, okay? To summon a champion from Ancient, Void, Primal, and Sacreds. Now, we won't have a 2x, we won't have anything funky next to this, just a 15x chance. This event will last for exactly 23 hours. So from Thursday to Friday morning, that's when the fusion event will kick in on Friday, right? So if you're summoning for these champions, you're not going to get points for the fusion. Now, I know not a lot of people are going for the fusion and stuff like that, which of course, it's going to be up to you when you decide to summon. The very first champion that we have on the list, guys, so all of the non-voids will be faction unity champions. And we're going to have all of the Plarium League, plus we're going to have some pretty solid void champions as well. The very first one, of course, is going to be Acin. This is one that I'm still missing, basically, but I'm not too crazy to try and get this champion in particular. I would rather go for another one. He's pretty good, especially in the siege mode. If you're building it with Marichka, Taras, you're building a team around them, they can put in some serious work. Other than that, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I think the faction unity champions will be so damn important for Faction Wars hard mode. I'm actually very curious to see if they're planning to put these champions on the regular summoning banners, right? So, to don't actually require a specific / special event to be able to summon these champions. When we're talking about builds, either you're building him on a Supersonic, either you're building him with a bolster stone skin or just stone skin. He is a pretty good champion. Now, he used to enable some crazy things in the Hydra because of this skill right here with Ironclad. I'm actually not 100% sure if that thing actually still works, but I don't think so. So, this is a skill that you don't really want to use, okay? Because he's going to remove all of the shield to generate the healing. But this skill right here is actually pretty good, where he puts the shield, the ally protection, the buffs cannot be removed, the block damage on the champion instantly activates the skill whenever an ally is revived, which is really good as well. Then you have the passive. So, as usual, all of the faction unity champions really basically rely around their faction to have a full team of the specific faction to get the most out of them. Most of the super good skills or effects of the skills are locked when you have 3 faction allies in the team. Not a bad champion whatsoever, as I was saying it before, but he's not at the top of my list, to be honest. I would like to get him at some point, but I'm not gonna go crazy for him when I can go crazy for Fina, Blade of Aravia. She is one of my most wanted legendaries in the entire game, including voids, non-voids, and all the funky things. She enables some crazy good things. if I would get her, man, my Hydra team would become so much better. And not just the Hydra team, tons of other things, even Hydra teams, to be honest with you guys. Was I saying Hydra? I meant to say Chimera. I'm not sure if I said just Hydra and then Hydra again. My Chimera team will get crazy, and potentially my Hydra team if I would build one around her. Really, really good skills. A chance to increase the cooldown of a random skill on the target. You can counterattack, team up with a random ally. The ally joining the attack will use their default skill. Places a block debuffs, block damage, and a counterattack on a target ally. If the target ally is not this champion, will reset a cooldown of all of the skills, which is really good on a 3-turn cooldown. Then increase attack, increase crit rate, increase crit damage on all allies. And look at this. The more faction allies you have in the team, the more effects you have. Grants extra turn, removes all debuffs, buffs placed by this skill cannot be removed. Now, in the Chimera is enough to have one. So, going in with Galatir, thankfully I have the champion. Granting that extra turn is massive because that will decrease the cooldown of this skill as well. Then you have the passive. Allies deal 25% more damage when attacking out of their active turn, which is really good for any damage dealer that you're actually using in the team. Is not tied only to high elves champions or anything like that. Allies will ignore 5% of the target's defense for each buff on them when you have 3 faction allies, which is actually really strong, but that works much better in the Hydra. In the Chimera, I think it's really, really hard to build a team with 4 high elf champions, right? But for the Hydra, it's definitely doable. Speed aura for all battles, crit rate only for high elf champions, which once again is not the craziest thing. I do like the design on the champion. I think she looks really, really badass. And yeah, in terms of faction unity champions, she's my most wanted. The second is the Undead, right? I think they got me with this one. I think I'm going to drop some shards now. I'm not sure how many. I'm not sure if I'm willing to open my wallet or anything like that, because at the end of the day, a 15x chance really, really sucks. I might be better off to wait for her to be part of a Prism Crystal event and spend money on that, where I have a much better chance to get her. But I'm still kind of like deciding. Then we have, of course, the Sacred Order one as well. Falmond, really good champion. Like, if you manage to set the entire team up, they all become immune to increase cooldown effects. He's going to take 0 damage, okay, which is crazy, crazy good. Decreases the damage from hits by this champion by 10% for each turn taken by an ally or an enemy before this champion's next turn. So if you build him slow, make sure some of the other ones take some turns, especially the enemies. My god, no damage, plus he's going to deal crazy, crazy damage too. A very good champion, to be honest. He's definitely in my top 5 most wanted non-void legendaries. But I really want to get Fina before any other faction unity champion, to be honest with you guys. And for siege mode, where you have the restrictions for factions and stuff, you can definitely do some crazy, crazy things with him. AoE attack, damage inflicted by the skill increases by 5 for each buff and debuff on the target. Will ignore 25% of the target's defense if they have no buffs, which could potentially be the case in some scenarios. Overall, really, really solid. Attack aura in all battles, crit rate for the Sacred Order. Design-wise, he's okayish, not crazy in terms of a design. Then, moving on to the next one, we have Dunelord Gregor. I actually released a guide on him not a very long time ago, a week or a couple of weeks ago. I actually like the champion. I feel like the Barbarians, they have tons of strong champions now. With the addition of Odin, Freya, we have Alice, the Sunbearer in there. We have tons of crazy champions. The main idea is to use him as a turn meter booster, right? So basically build him fast. You get increased attack, the increased accuracy. You're getting turn meter. Activates the instant turn on the champion with the highest crit damage, which is really, really good as well. Not a bad passive whatsoever. Is actually super, super annoying with all of the crowd control happening. I think he is pretty good, but a lot of people don't like him for whatever reason. But personally, I think he's pretty good. Moving on to the Void Legendaries, guys. Starting with Turvolt, really good as well. And I don't know why I remember that he had all sorts of tattoos and tattoos on him and stuff, but seems like he doesn't. You're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about once you're going to watch the trivia dungeon event tomorrow. Make sure you guys tune in, go in for some rewards and stuff like that. It's gonna be tons of fun. Either way, the Juggernaut, crazy, crazy powerful skill. I am using him versus the Shogun dungeon just to absolutely wreck the boss. Thankfully, I have him at 6-star +4, so that really enables him to do even crazier damage. He was even in the arena meta for a while as being one of the hardest hitting damage dealers in the game. Really wiping off Marichkas and Tarasis without any second thoughts, right? The self buff, good for Hydra. I even tried him in the Chimera in the very first week when they released the content. Was pretty good damage, but I found myself struggling a little bit with him in there. Maybe I did not have the best build, the best team around him. Not a lot of turn meter. That's something that I know for sure. But he was putting up pretty solid numbers. Weaken on the A1. I have mine built on Savage at the moment. Merciless most likely is going to be much better if you have tons of Merciless gear available. Unfortunately, I only have a couple of decent sets that I'm using on my Hydra teams, Chimera. So I don't really like moving gear around too often. Then we have the sexy man. Everybody wants him. Everybody loves him. All the girls go crazy when they see him. Mr. Cardiel. I'm using mine in the Hydra. He's a very, very good champion. Using him in the Fire Knight. Using him in the Curse City. I have mine built on a 9-piece protection built for damage. A lot of people are still using him in Arena with high resistance, stone skin, or immunity. The speed aura is nice. Of course, you have the ally attack, the crit rate, the increased crit damage, the cleanse, the block debuffs, the revive on that, the healing from the A1. He's still a very, very strong champion. Then, moving on to the final one, guys, we have Taras. Everybody loves Taras as well. Yeah, he's still crazy, crazy good. I actually saw a short video from Sam, I think it was yesterday, if I remember it correctly, where she was showcasing a team on the Iron Twins Fortress, farming that boss in 1 second, which was crazy, crazy. Seeing that Taras was the main champion involved in that, and was all about the A2 skill. Like, he was doing so much damage versus that boss for whatever reason, without even having the defense down and weaken. But of course, Taras is not only good for that. Crazy good AoE damage if we're talking about Hydra Clan boss, if we're talking about Arena, if we're talking about Faction War, Siege Mode, Curse City, you guys name it. He's a beast. The passive's keeping him alive. And together with Marichka, yes, they are still kind of like unstoppable in a way or another. Really, really powerful champion. Good damage, good survival. Probably one of the best survivability kits in the entire game for a damage dealer. Him and Rotos, I feel like they're some of the best, to be honest. But either way, guys, that's pretty much everything in terms of summoning events. Let's dive into the champion buffs, because that's something that is pretty important. As I've mentioned, one of my most hated legendaries in the game, that's Norog. Why? Because he was my first legendary and he sucked big time. I never really had a chance to use him anywhere. He's getting a buff. So with A1, right now he's going to have a chance to decrease the duration of all buffs on the target by 1 turn, and has an 80% chance of placing a block active skills debuff for 1 turn, which is much better than what we had before, a 40% chance. Now, fully booked, I think this might go up to 100. Then, on the A2, attacks all enemies, places a block buffs and a defense down for 2 turns, guys. On a 3-turn cooldown, much better. I know it's just decreased defense, but it's much better than before. Like, before he was only doing block buffs, which was pretty damn irrelevant. Now he does block buffs and defense down, which means that we could potentially use him for the Hydra clan boss or other content where he can be more helpful. Even clan boss now, because of that defense down, or Curse City, maybe some dungeons. He does have that crazy, crazy aura for dungeons. And he will be immune to all of the crowd control debuffs now, except Polymorph. And he will still decrease the damage taken by all allies by 7.5%. Ascended, he will decrease the damage taken by all allies that are under 1 or more buffs by 15%, and if they're under no active buffs, by 25%. So that pretty much stayed the same. Not a crazy buff on him or anything like that, but at least if you get him now, you can use him in some different areas. Before, he was really not doing much whatsoever. Moving on to the cock. I was expecting this to happen quite a while ago. It finally happened, so I'm gonna shut up. Hopefully the buff is good enough, guys. So, as you guys can probably notice, on the A2 skill, attacks all enemies, nothing really changed in there except the fact that they increased the damage multipliers. By how much? No clue. I'm looking forward to see. On the A3 skill, it pretty much stays exactly the same, but after he puts the buffs on, grants an extra turn. Which means that you can go in a fight, put a revive on that, put the increased defense on all allies, grant the extra turn, and move on to Metamorph. And then do some other funky things. Now, with a passive, reflects 50% of the damage he receives back to the attacker. If the attacker is a boss, reflects 100% of the damage, and also heals this champion by 50% of the damage received. So this is better overall. Not crazy changes on his kit, but to be honest, they might be enough. It really depends by how much they increase those multipliers, because this A3 skill now is nice. He can self-buff and grant the extra turn, right? And restores all allies destroyed max HP, if that happens in the meantime. On the alternate form, guys, now here we are seeing some changes, and to be honest, positive changes. On this skill, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, places a defense down for 2 turns. This effect cannot be resisted. Damage increases by 10 for each enemy under a defense down debuff. Now, keep in mind, it's not specified that he needs to land it. Even if somebody else lands it, you're gonna be fine. Also, steals 20% of the turn meter from each enemy. Now, for this effect in particular, it looks like you need accuracy. It doesn't say that it cannot be resisted. The damage multipliers got increased, so that's mainly the most important thing in my opinion that will say if this champion is good now or he's trash. Then, moving on to the second skill. Attacks all enemies, will ignore 20% of each target's defense if they have no buffs, and will ignore block damage buffs. Very good counter now to Nice and to Siegfried, hopefully, right? You do need to activate that block damage before. If not, he's not going to ignore it if it procs after from Siegfried's passive, for example. The damage will increase by 15% for each buff on each target. Decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 2 turns, which is really good as well. If they have unkillable, if they have something else, he will decrease the duration of buffs. But you do need accuracy for that in order to work. Damage multipliers increased. By how much? I have absolutely no idea. Then, he is immune to all of the crowd control debuffs except Polymorph. This is much better. He cannot get stunned by unarmaments, he cannot get provoked, he cannot get petrification. Actually, sheep as well. Sorry, my bad. They actually changed the way they're putting Polymorph. They used to show it as the last one. Seems like now it's provoke, sheep, and petrification in that order. So my bad. He is immune to Polymorph too, which is massive because he does land that defense down. Unresistible, which is actually really, really good. I actually missed that part with the Polymorph. I've just noticed that now. Let me just see. They've done the same. Yeah, they've done the same on Norog as well. So I was so used to see sheep at the end rather than in between. So right now, even Norog is immune to sheep. And then you see the petrification. Okay. So it seems like they changed a bit of wording on how they're putting that. Immune to sheep. Massive, to be honest with you guys. Also randomly resets the cooldown of one of these champion skills whenever they kill an enemy. You might kill an enemy with an A2. You're going to get it back if the A3 is already on 0 cooldown, right? So that's really, really good. It does make a massive difference if the multipliers are good or not. So initially, the multipliers were really not great. I'm very curious to see by how much they actually increase them, right? It still doesn't ignore Stone Skin and all that stuff, but it seems way more promising than before. I might even empower mine to +2 now if it turns out to have good multipliers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Even for Hydra, this can be much, much better. You don't have to worry about the fear, true fear, the provoke. You don't have to stress too much about the defense down because he's going to be able to basically drop that. You have 4 targets under defense down. better damage because that will increase by 10 for each enemy. The thing is, they're not really gonna have many buffs in the Hydra usually, right? Because you use the block buffs. So you're not really gonna get a huge damage boost from the A3 skill. But in PvP content, that will be a completely different story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. What do you think about the buffs? Are you tempted to go for any of the 15x progressive chances heroes? Or you're just gonna be like, I'm not gonna bother, I'm gonna wait for the fusion. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. If you enjoyed the content, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, help out with that YouTube algorithm, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.